Hello, dear listeners, and welcome back to Book Summary 5, the 5-Minute Summary channel. I'm Sammy, your host, and today we're diving into The Drunkard's Walk, How Randomness Rules Our Lives by Leonard Mlodinow. This fascinating book explores how randomness and chance shape much of what happens in our lives, from the successes we achieve to the failures we face. Mlodinow, a physicist with a talent for making complex ideas accessible, takes us on a journey through the world of probability and statistics, showing us how understanding randomness can help us make better decisions and interpret life's outcomes more wisely. Let's dive into the unpredictability of life, so you'll feel like you've read it cover to cover. In The Drunkard's Walk, Mlodinow introduces us to the concept that randomness and chance have a far greater influence on our lives than we often realize. Using the metaphor of a drunkard's walk, a random, zigzagging path that's impossible to predict, he explains how many aspects of life, from career success to investment outcomes, are not purely driven by skill or effort, but are significantly influenced by luck and random events. Mlodinow's goal is to help us recognize the role of randomness so we can avoid common cognitive biases and make more informed decisions. One of the book's key themes is the human tendency to misinterpret random events as meaningful patterns. Mlodinow shows us that our brains are wired to seek patterns, even where none exist, which can lead to errors in judgment. For example, we might attribute a successful stock pick to skill rather than luck, or believe a streak in sports is due to an athlete's talent when it may simply be a statistical fluctuation. Mlodinow reveals that this desire for patterns often causes us to assign meaning to random events, leading us to overestimate our control over outcomes and misjudge the role of luck in our achievements. The author delves into the concept of regression to the mean, a phenomenon where extreme outcomes tend to return to the average over time. This statistical principle explains why people or events that perform exceptionally well or poorly often revert to more typical performance. Mlodinow uses examples from business, sports, and education to illustrate how misunderstanding this concept can lead to misguided expectations. For instance, a company's sudden success may be seen as a sign of exceptional management, but it's often followed by average performance due to the natural ebb and flow of chance. Recognizing regression to the mean can help us avoid overreacting to temporary highs or lows in our lives. Another fascinating topic Mlodinow explores is confirmation bias, our tendency to seek information that supports our beliefs while ignoring evidence that contradicts them. This bias is particularly relevant in areas like hiring, investing, and personal relationships, where we may interpret results based on what we want to see rather than what's truly happening. By understanding confirmation bias, Mlodinow encourages us to approach situations more objectively, questioning our assumptions and being open to alternative explanations. Mlodinow also discusses the concept of the law of large numbers, which states that as a sample size grows, its average result will get closer to the expected outcome. In other words, the more times you repeat a random event, the closer the results will align with statistical expectations. This law helps explain why long-term trends are easier to predict than short-term fluctuations. For example, while individual stock prices may vary wildly in the short term, a large, diversified portfolio will typically align more closely with overall market trends over time. Understanding this concept helps us see that isolated outcomes often don't reflect the true nature of a random process. The author delves into the role of probability in everyday decisions, demonstrating how often we rely on intuition rather than accurate calculations when assessing risks. For example, people tend to overestimate rare events, like plane crashes or winning the lottery, while underestimating common risks, such as car accidents. By learning to think in terms of probabilities rather than certainties, Mlodinow argues, we can make better choices and respond more appropriately to life's uncertainties. In The Drunkard's Walk, Mlodinow also explores the influence of randomness in areas like career success and personal achievement. He challenges the meritocracy myth, the idea that success is solely the result of hard work and talent, by showing how randomness plays a role in everything from job promotions to artistic recognition. While skill and effort are important, they're often only part of the story. Timing, connections, and chance encounters can be equally decisive. Recognizing this can help us approach success and failure with greater humility, as we understand that not every outcome is a direct reflection of our actions. Mlodinow concludes with practical advice on how to incorporate an understanding of randomness into our lives. He suggests adopting a more flexible mindset, where we recognize that not every setback is a failure and not every success is due solely to our efforts. By embracing the role of chance, we can reduce stress, avoid overreacting to unpredictable events, and focus on the aspects of life that we can control. Ultimately, The Drunkard's Walk is a thought-provoking exploration of the hidden forces of chance and probability in our lives. Leonard Mlodinow's insights remind us that life is often less predictable than we'd like to believe. But by understanding randomness, we can approach decisions with greater clarity and navigate life's uncertainties more effectively. Thank you for tuning in to Book Summary 5, the 5-Minute Summary channel. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Drunkard's Walk, please subscribe, like, and share it with your friends. Until next time, happy reading, and remember, sometimes life is just a drunkard's walk, and learning to dance with uncertainty can lead us to surprising places.